early on, he was known not only for that, but he was known for wearing Crocs.
Huh.
Yeah, which I think is referenced in the Social Network movie, maybe once or twice. Maybe it's not. It's in the book.
My favorite part about Crocs, Lou, are the little holes because that's where your self-esteem escapes from.
Well, here we are.
Are you surprised?
Well,
You're just trying to mix it up? What are you...
Yeah, I don't know. I probably could have done without the jazz hands right there.
Yeah, that was... I'm real surprised.
Yeah, given that we are on Audible medium,
we
talk about quite a bit. But yeah, the jazz hands probably were pretty alarming for you.
It freaked me out a little bit. What's happening?
Well, like we talked about on the episodes, I want to make sure there's a little bit of familiarity and maybe even some kind of catchphrases to this whole thing. But at the same time, there's a repetitiveness to it.
Yep.
Which leads into actually what we want to talk about. So I'm going to introduce the show, maybe even a little bit early here. I am your host, Lou Abramowski, or somewhat repetitively known as Hot Lou.
And I am Mike. I may have just peed a little bit.
So welcome to the Hot Lou Show. In fact, this you don't need to worry about the bleep button here, but this is the shirt show.
The shirt show.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for this.
We have. We've talked about it. I've referenced it a couple of times because I think that there is something that both Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg are kind of famously known for in their personal lives. And I say famously known, but not everybody knows it, but it turned into a little bit of a meme inside of the Silicon Valley area around like tech CEOs and tech people. And what was funny is when this story that I'm going to share here in a second gained popularity, I realized I had been doing it already for years. And it's that Zuckerberg and Jobs kind of famously were wearing the same thing over and over and over.
I knew that obviously about Steve Jobs, new celebrity listener, by the way.
Yeah.
The estate of Steve Jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not know that about Zuck. He's
and
known for this?
And in fact, early on, he was known not only for that, but he was known for wearing Crocs.
Huh.
Yeah, which I think is referenced in the Social Network movie, maybe once or twice. Maybe it's not. It's in the book.
My favorite part about Crocs, Lou, are the little holes because that's where your self-esteem escapes from.
That's pretty good.
I once said that I was a lector at my church. This is like 2 years ago. And the guy right before me had made an announcement where he referenced that, whatever the event was, he was going to be there in relaxing gear, including his Crocs. And I stood in front of the whole church and said that to him.
Wow.
He's never forgotten it.
Hopefully he had a good sense of humor about it.
I think so.
Yeah. At least he's going to pretend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Crocs thing was a big thing, but he kind of now almost invariably you will see him, if he's not testifying before Congress, you'll see him in just a plain gray T-shirt.
Wow.
Yeah. And I, without actually knowing any of this was happening, I just found myself, one morning just sick and tired of picking out clothes.
Yeah.
That I wasn't like expressing myself through my clothing decisions, as you might imagine. And I wasn't, I didn't find any sort of personal gratification in like the artistry that came along with kind of putting on my clothes or anything like that. So I just got tired of it. And I was like, why can't I just wear the same thing over and over? So I started just doing that where, I might wear the same thing just like 3-4 days in a row, then wash it and go on to the next thing, wear that like 3-4 days in a row. And I noticed that nobody would ever say anything to me. So
do you think it was because they didn't notice or because they were being polite or?
I don't know, but I wanted to know the answer.
You referenced washing the clothes, so at least we didn't have that problem.
Yeah. When I first referenced this many, many episodes ago, I think you suggested that we might title the episode the one with the smelly shirt.
Yeah.
I might have had some nose blindness, and that might have ended up happening, as we talked about. I have some mild case of face blindness. Why not nose blindness? But, I I wanted to get to the bottom of that. Like, I wanted to know if people were noticing and just not saying anything.
Sure.
And, in these particular cases, I tend to be very non-observant. If, you asked me, we actually saw each other yesterday for most of the day, and knowing that I was going to talk about this on the show today, I was trying to remember what you were wearing, and I have no idea.
It was this same shirt.
So you wore the same shirt 2 days in a row. There you go.
That's just bad packing on my part, though.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to challenge this, and what I did is I decided I was just going to wear the same shirt to work and this was the 8th Bridge days, every single day until somebody said something. And this experiment, unbelievably, kind of like my birthday experiment, which we've talked about a long, long time ago, was I went literally 3 weeks. So, in business days, that was 15 days, and nobody said anything to me. And it was a plain T-shirt. It said, and I still have it, so maybe I can take a photo and put it in the show notes. It was a pretty basic, kind of light blue T-shirt, and it just said "Forging Ahead." But the T-shirt did have kind of one interesting quality about it, that the print on it wasn't like a screen print. It didn't seem like a sublimation print, but if I turned the shirt inside out, you could still see the drawing on it. And I accidentally put it on inside out on day like 16 or 17 of the experiment. And I said, you know what? And because I looked in the mirror and I noticed that I was wearing it and I could read the writing.
Oh, sure.
And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to work with my shirt on inside out. And I did that until somebody said something. And it wasn't until like day 3
that somebody said, hey, your shirt's inside out.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, I don't know what's happening here. And I'll be honest, I would like to share some sort of insight or philosophy here, and I've got some kind of theories on it. And I will admit that there's a little bit of sexism that goes along with this, in that I think men have a little bit more of a benefit to being able to do this.
Oh, yeah.
I think my belief at the time, and I'm doing a little bit of an experiment like this too, that you've kind of observed, maybe not today, but that we'll talk about on a future show. I want to believe that we live in a meritocracy, and that the clothes I'm wearing are akin to judging a book by its cover.
Sure.
That hopefully we're judged by the content of our character.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not the way the world works.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. But I will say is that it was a genuine shock to me that it took basically a month of business days for anybody to say anything to me. Because when somebody did point out that I was wearing my shirt inside out, I said something like, do you know that I've been wearing this shirt all month? And they said no.
Huh. That's pretty remarkable.
So I don't have the full sample of all of the people that saw me wearing the same shirt, or saw me every single day more or less for a month. But, there might have been some politeness to it. But by and large, I think people just did not notice.
This may be like a corollary of the spotlight effect that we discussed in a prior episode, where people just aren't as into you as you are.
Right.
And not just you, Lou, but which is hard for the lunatics to fathom. But people are pretty inward looking. I mean, like, we obsess about our own foibles and mistakes and clothes and all that stuff. And, everybody else has got their own stuff going on inside their head. They probably just didn't notice. The vast majority of them didn't. I wonder, though, like, I feel like I'm a fairly observant person about things like clothes. I don't know why I'm just having this insight about my life now.
Yep.
Like, I feel like I would have noticed, but I don't know. I guess I don't know. Maybe not. I did comment on your clothing a while back when we were recording an episode of the Hot Lou Show, and I noticed you were wearing a suit, or a sport coat, and a tie too, I think. And that was I'm not used to seeing you in that kind of attire.
So I think that what ends up happening with that kind of stuff is that when there are expectations of seeing somebody in a certain way, that seeing them in that different light is really what people notice.
Yeah.
So, defying expectations are the ways to get that kind of attention rather than meeting them. We all feel a lot more comfortable when we identify patterns that are happening in the world, and all of these patterns and the observations we make about the world are aligned with our expectations.
Sure.
And, that's a product of confirmation bias. It's a product of the spotlight effect. It's just a product, I think, of people being just more comfortable, because once they kind of understand the world, whether it's politics or business or just general philosophy or sports or whatever, once you've got this, saying Kirk Cousins is a terrible quarterback, and then suddenly he's playing out of his mind.
Yeah, that didn't age well.
People still are upset because he's playing well.
Yeah.
So when that stuff happens, it really challenges our identity, because we, as a human being, often, conflate our identity with our beliefs.
Yep.
And if our beliefs are based on the patterns that we've recognized and what we believe to see in those expectations, it can really challenge our identity and make us feel a little weird.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of that going on right now, too,
Yeah.
in my world, in politics in particular.
Yeah. So you kind of pinpointed what I've been trying to do is dress a little bit differently to see how it impacts.
Sure.
And we'll talk in a future episode about that. But I will say that most of the responses, and like I said, we'll dive deeper into this, have not been, wow, you look really nice today, Lou. It's
more like what I did. Like,
what's going on?
Yeah. What, did somebody die?
Yeah, exactly. Do you have an interview?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's more because in that scenario, I think it's about you suddenly having this expectation that's not met,
right,
that makes you feel confused about it, rather than just making a fresh new observation on, something that you've already got preconceived notions about.
I think I'm going to wear the same shirt to work every day this week.
Let's see what ends up happening. By the way, as we were talking about this, I was going to ask you if you knew what I was wearing yesterday when we saw each other.
No
exactly
clue.
What I'm wearing right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
So this was a deliberate.
Ha! You got me.
I did. So, like I said, I think there is, some kind of sexist benefit to being a man in this scenario. And this has actually been proven a little bit. And the name's escaping me. I actually looked at it before the show, so I did a little bit more prep than normal. But there's an Australian morning news talk show where
Bonjour.
Bonjour, Australian listeners. The co-hosts are a male and female duo, and the female host was getting tons and tons of criticism about her fashion choices, and her co-host decided he was going to wear the exact same suit every single day until somebody called him out on it.
Sure.
And as I want to do, I'm going to forget the timeline, but I'm pretty sure it was 1 full year he wore the exact same suit every single day, and no one noticed. So he dedicated a part of the show. So we'll throw that in the show notes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that'd be cool to see.
It's fascinating to see the differences that, men and women do have to deal with this sort of thing. But to your point about this being a product of a little bit of the spotlight effect, the lesson I want to impart on the lunatics out here is that we are overconsumed often with what people are paying attention to in our lives, and it can paralyze us a little bit about what we're deciding to do, the decisions we're making, the things that we are saying, the social media posts that we put out there. So, take a moment to reflect on whether or not people are really paying as much attention to you as you think they are, to make those decisions, to, branch out, take a little risk, maybe wear the same shirt to work every single day.
There you go. By the way, I did a Google image search for Mark Zuckerberg, and I am shocked that every picture he's in where he's not testifying in front of a congressional committee, he's wearing a gray T-shirt. And now I totally recognize it. But I didn't. So it kind of proves your point. I didn't I knew that about Steve Jobs. Mm-hmm. I did not know that about Zuck.
Right. And, with that, I would say that they both made decisions too for those apparel decisions to actually be as benign as possible and unnoticeable, right?
Yeah.
Steve Jobs with his black turtleneck-ish thing, along with Zuckerberg's just gray T-shirt. And I think there's a kind of a famous photo of Zuckerberg looking like Pee Wee Herman, in front of his closet, where it's just 12 of the exact same T-shirts. And I'll say that I have a similar thing now. I have 5 shirts of the exact same thing. And just a couple of weeks ago, I ended up at the gym because I've been buying the same pair of shoes over and over. I ended up at the gym with two left foot shoes.
Oh no!
At the gym, because I grabbed the pair from a year ago, and then the more recent pair. So I ended up having to be at the gym barefoot.
Oh no!
As it might not surprise you, nobody really noticed.
No, I guarantee that's true. So the only thing I can think of that where I've had a similar experience is when I forget my gym socks and I'll have to wear like my work socks,
Sure.
with my gym shoes, which I feel really weird about, but nobody's ever said anything to me.
Well, now my brain's churning on what kind of work socks I can wear at the
There you
gym
go.
to see what people say.
Oh, yeah?
If they will.
Yeah.
But, that's to...
I doubt it.
Yeah. But, that kind of is more on the lines of if you are doing something, I think that is very distinctive, it becomes a part of your brand.
Yep.
Even if it's really weird, right? If you're wearing just like weird socks over and over and over, people expect that. So, that the lesson there is often like about setting expectations for how you want the world to kind of view you. But at the same time, I hope people out there are thinking like, people are paying a lot less attention to you than you think they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, make some bold choices here and there to see, what you can do to try to experiment, get a little bit better at what you do professionally or recreationally or whatever, without letting the fear of what people think of you paralyze you.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Philosophical, deep.
Yeah.
Not,
well, I hope so.
Not nearly as stinky as I would have gathered.
Yeah. Well, the listeners don't get the benefit of seeing that we sit kind of far apart for this show.
Yeah.
So even if I were emitting some sort of odor, it might not reach you.
Small room though. Hey, lunatics. It's me here, Hot Mike 3. Lou gave me that nickname because, well, I'm a hot guy named Mike. And there's 3 hot mics in this studio. But Lou, some people feel like they don't get nearly enough hot mic in their life.
Because there aren't just 3. There's so many Mikes in the world.
Oh, yeah. There's Michael Jordan and Michael Keaton.
Mike Nugent.
And Mike Peterson.
My goodness, this is genius.
Get on over to hotlou.com/hot mic and check out what we've prepared for you.
Thanks for tuning into the Hot Lou and Hot Mike Philosophy Hour.
It was great, and it was way more efficient than an hour. You got your dose of philosophy real efficiently.
Yeah, and actually, not that I want to just draw this close out because we're obviously closing the show. I've never listened to it on like 2x speed, and I know you listen to some podcasts. Yeah. We'll have to do that.
I do 1.2x speed, and actually, if you play around with that little feature and you slow it down to 0.5x, no matter who it is, they sound totally drunk.
That is terrific to hear. All right. With that, I'm going to end the show. I am your host, Lou Abramowski, or somewhat repetitively known as Hot Lou.
And I am still Hot Mike.
We'll talk to you next Lou's Day.